So how long does it take to get your foreign legal credentials assessed in Canada? It really depends on how fast you were able to get your NCA assessment, how fast you're able to take your NCA exams, how fast you get articling, and then how fast you can pass the bar exams. So, but there is still like a minimum, I would say, time period that you will need, which I will talk about a bit later. But in terms of how long will it take, really depends on your personal circumstances and personal situation. So for example, I know of friends who completed the entire process in 2 years. I know of friends who completed the process in 4 years. I know of friends who did it in 3 years. So it's doable, but really depends on your situation. So today I'd like to talk about, how long does each step usually take? And then I will also give you some questions to ask yourself to figure out how long will it actually take you. First is applying for the NCA assessment. That is the first step in your legal journey for becoming a lawyer in Canada. Applying for the NCA assessment requires an application, getting all the documents, making sure that your degrees and transcripts are being sent to the NCA. Preparation time for an NCA assessment can be anywhere between a week to 3 weeks, depending on how fast you can get those documents. Now, once the application is submitted, the NCA will take about 6 to 8 weeks to process your NCA assessment. Now, that brings us to at least, I'm not that great at math, so almost around 2.5 months. So that's 2.5 months just to understand what your NCA assessment is. Depending on your assessment, if you have to write the NCA exams, you have to figure out when are you able to take the exams, because every month they don't offer all the exams. Different subjects are offered in different months. So from my experience, if you have to take at least 5 exams, you may be able to take them in 2 sittings. So maybe it'll take you another 6 to 7 months there. But that is me saying that, if you really, really try your hard and try to get it done as soon as possible. But generally speaking, I think it can take a year for anyone to complete the NCA exams, depending on how many exams they get. 5 to 6, I would think it would take you a year if you were taking the exams in different sittings. If you're able to find one sitting and you're able to take all of them, great. I know some people who've done that, and if you're one of them, that's great. So I would say at least a year, and then we said about 2.5 months was the NCA assessment process. So we're at, about 1.5 year almost. Once you're done your NCA exams and you get your certificate of qualification, now you have to article for a year. So that will take you another year. If you do the law practice program, it is about 10 months. So just adding that up, you're almost at 2 years at this point. And if you were to take the bar exams while you are articling or while you're doing the law practice program, again, you can do that, but it really depends on your workload. Do you have a job? Do you have, are you responsible for kids, or, you have any other responsibilities at home? Oftentimes, I think that it's easier to take the exams either after you finish your articling, or I would say once you finish your NCA exams. While you're articling, it may be very difficult to take those exams, but not to say that you can't do it. I know people who have done it and have passed them, but just giving you an idea in terms of the timeline. So we're looking at least 2 years from the time, 2.5 years from the time you get your education law degree assessed is when you're looking at being licensed in Ontario. If your assessment required you to do the LLM program, then the timelines would really depend on whether you complete your NCA exams as part of the LLM. So let's just say that you do the LLM program in 1 year and you complete all your NCA courses. That's great. Then you article for 1 year, and while you're articling, you're taking your bar exam. So that's 2 years again. So 2 years is what I would say is the minimum that you will need to requalify as a lawyer in Canada. Anything more than that is okay. For me, I think it took almost 3 years. I would say 3.5 years, because I did the LLM in international business law, and I didn't take any NCA courses as part of my LLM. And then I wrote the NCA exams separately. So for me, it took a little bit longer. It really depends on your goals. So the questions that you can ask yourself in terms of deciding, do you want to rush this process and get out of the way, or do you want to take your time? The first thing is finances. Are you able to, do you have enough savings? Do you have any support if you're just studying for 2 years and you're spending that time to requalify as a lawyer? Do you have the financial resources to support yourself? If the answer is yes, then you may be able to go through the process slowly and, networking, trying to find job opportunities. However, if you don't have the financial resources, then rushing the process to be licensed, then eventually making money may make sense to you. So financial resources, you have to really question whether you're able to support yourself during this process or not. The other questions that you can ask yourself, and again, people may have a different opinion than me, is sometimes I find that rushing the process may be a good option for some people, but for somebody like me, I took my time and I was able to do other things that led me to eventually find a job that I really enjoy. But if you're just going through it and you're just focused on getting it out of the way, you may not be able to look at other opportunities that come your way. So as a foreign legal graduate, you can focus on a lot of other things or a lot of other job opportunities while you're in the process. You may meet different people. You may get into different areas of the law. So just the traditional pathway of being a practicing lawyer is great, but there are other pathways too that you can now pursue. For example, working at a legal technology startup or working for a tech company. So again, there are different pathways that you can explore, but if you're just sort of rushing it, you may not be able to, I guess, you may not have the time to look for such opportunities. Once you are a lawyer, you can obviously look for those opportunities again, but your time will just be spent on getting licensed and not looking at other things. Overall, I think that the one thing that I'd like you to take away from this is that don't compare your journey to anyone else's. Some people may be able to finish this in a year, or not a year, but 2 years, which is great. But you don't have to compare yourself to them, because this is your journey and you may arrive a little bit later. That does not mean that you're not going to be successful, or that doesn't mean that you're not going to make it. It's just everyone's timelines are different, and that's okay.